Welcome back to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here today, because we're unpacking a truly fascinating contradiction about money, status, and what it actually takes to be free. We're going to look at the massive, totally invisible gap between looking rich and actually being rich. If you've ever felt that pressure to upgrade your life just to keep up with the Joneses, or maybe wondered why your rising income hasn't exactly bought you financial peace, well, this explainer is going to completely flip your perspective. Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to picture a stoplight on an ordinary Tuesday. In the left lane, there's a brand new, blacked-out luxury SUV. It's freshly washed, dealer plates are still on it. Right next to it, in the right lane, is a 10-year-old Honda with a noticeable dent in the bumper and a coffee cup sitting on the dash. Now, if I asked you which driver was wealthy, your brain instantly makes an assumption, right? But here's the totally wild part. Statistically speaking, the safer bet, the smarter bet, is actually the driver in the dented Honda. The person in that luxury SUV is far more likely to be drowning in monthly payments, while the person in the Honda is far more likely to be financially free.
Section 1. The Illusion of Wealth and Running on Fumes. There is a sobering reality humming right beneath all those glossy car payments and weekend photos across America in 2026.
I mean, how did we get to a place where the people who look the richest are often the most broke? We'll take a look at this startling statistic. Heading into 2026, roughly 60% of all Americans were living paycheck to paycheck. But the detail that should literally stop you cold is that 40%, that's 2 out of every 5 people, earning over $100,000 a year, are also living paycheck to paycheck. These are the exact high earners we all assume have it totally figured out, yet they finish the month with absolutely zero left over. The shiny facade is usually funded entirely by debt.
And you know, as incomes have risen, what we actually managed to keep has absolutely plummeted. The typical American's personal savings rate recently sat at a measly 4.5%. Historically, that figure averaged closer to 8.5%. So what does that mean? It means we're keeping about half of what previous generations managed to save, all while spending exponentially more just to look the part. Which brings us to Section 2, the psychology of the trap. Why do we signal status? And why do incredibly smart people keep falling for this?
Economists call this the treadmill, and this brilliantly illustrates how, for most of human history, signaling status literally meant survival. It showed you had resources. But today, those primal signals have been completely hijacked by luxury watches and renovated kitchens. We aren't really buying the object. We're buying a sentence we hope other people will say about us. But the tragic irony here is that we're all dressing up for an audience that is way too distracted by its own costume to even notice ours. You buy the nice car, you get a little lift for a few weeks, it becomes your new normal, and boom, you start reaching for the next upgrade. You are literally just running in place.
This exact treadmill leads directly to what financial experts call lifestyle inflation. It is the silent killer hiding behind all those paycheck-to-paycheck six-figure earners. As their income went up, their spending quietly crept right up to match it. A raise that absolutely should have bought them financial freedom instead bought them a much heavier, much more stressful stack of monthly obligations.
All right, Section 3, the true cost of status. Let's dig into the hard, punishing math behind these visible status symbols.
Prepare yourself for a bit of a narrative jump scare here. Americans now owe more than $1.67 trillion in auto loan debt. Seriously, that is not a typo. $1.67 trillion. In an effort to make massive car payments even remotely survivable, buyers are stretching out loans to 84 or even 85 months. We are literally paying interest on machines that are engineered to lose value the absolute second you drive them off the lot. The ultimate badge of success in America has quietly morphed into one of the largest anchors dragging households completely under.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the violent difference a single choice makes. The average new car payment is hovering right around $750 a month. But if you instead drove a paid-off, totally boring used car and funneled that $750 into a low-cost index fund at a 7% return, in 30 years, you'd be staring at over $900,000. So the real choice was never nice car versus boring car. The choice was a nicer car right now or nearly $1 million later. It is literally the difference between clocking in because you have to and walking away because you want to.
And you know, the car is just one piece of the puzzle. We also have to factor in the lifestyle multiplier. This is the hidden ecosystem of expenses that gets dragged behind any major possession. Buy a bigger house, and guess what? It isn't just a bigger mortgage, it's more property taxes, higher heating bills, more maintenance, and the immense pressure to buy expensive furniture just to fill rooms you wouldn't otherwise even have.
One single purchase quietly obligates you to a dozen more.
Zooming all the way out, total household debt in America has crossed a staggering $18.8 trillion. And a massive slice of that number isn't from just surviving or covering emergencies. It is pure performance. It's the running cost of a financial costume that fools strangers on the street but quietly robs the person actually wearing it.
Moving on to Section 4, the stealth wealth shift. Let's pull back the curtain on the hidden millionaires next door.
So the crucial point is understanding the fundamental difference between income and wealth. And this faucet and tank metaphor is the absolute best way to visualize it. Income is just the faucet. It's the water pouring in. Wealth, that's the tank. It's the water you actually keep inside. A person can have a massive faucet, a huge, impressive salary, but if their tank has a crack in the bottom because they spend everything, they own almost nothing. That luxury SUV we talked about earlier, it only signals the size of the faucet. It tells you absolutely nothing about the actual wealth kept securely inside the tank.
Let's look at the actual data on people with full tanks. 61% of households earning over $250,000 a year do not drive luxury brands. They drive Hondas, Toyotas, and Fords. Actual millionaires spend roughly 1% of their net worth on vehicles. 1%. And importantly, 80% of them are first-generation rich, meaning they built it themselves through some seriously unusual discipline. In fact, there's a massive cultural shift happening right now toward underconsumption and stealth wealth, where visible, flashy logos are increasingly reading as insecurity rather than success.
Just let this quote sit with you for a second. When people stop wasting money trying to look wealthy, they finally have the money to actually become wealthy. It's so profound, right? Because this single sentence completely inverts everything modern marketing spends billions of dollars trying to teach us every single day.
Because what the wealthy truly understand is that the ultimate luxury isn't a fancy badge on a steering wheel. It's optionality. A full tank buys you the absolute freedom to walk away from a job that's grinding you down. It lets you take 6 months off for a family emergency or step out on your own and start a new business. Real wealth buys options, and options are only available to those who build a wide gap between what they earn and what they spend.
Which brings us to Section 5, the Wealth Building Playbook, the actual, actionable rules.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a solid strategy. We know the trap and we know the mindset. Now here are the 6 actionable rules you can use to start building your tank this week. Honestly, I highly recommend taking a quick screenshot of this right now. Number 1, decouple income from identity. Remember, a raise is a chance to widen your savings gap, not permission to upgrade your lifestyle. Number 2, automate your savings and make spending difficult. Do this the day you get paid, way before you even have a chance to spend it. Number 3, drive it till it dies. Always evaluate purchases by their actual cost per use over time. Number 4, test hobbies by renting equipment before blowing cash on gear you're only going to use twice. Number 5, define what enough looks like before you start making big money so you don't keep moving the goalposts. And finally, number 6, mute the comparison feed. Seriously, stop looking at curated highlight reels on glowing rectangles that exist only to sell you a lifestyle.
To see how this plays out in the real world, let's look at a tale of 2 coworkers. They get hired on the exact same day, making the exact same salary. The flashy coworker leases the luxury car, upgrades their apartment, and buys a trendy new wardrobe. The frugal coworker, they keep their old car, split a modest apartment, and automatically invest 20% of their paycheck. Now, for a decade, the frugal one looks like they're totally falling behind. But then, a recession hits. Layoffs happen. The flashy coworker has 0 savings and is immediately forced to take the first miserable job offered just to keep the lights on. The frugal coworker has a deep, multi-year cushion. They take their time, they leverage their position, and they find the perfect next step. A decade of invisible choices becomes the entire story the moment the ground shifts.
But remember, none of these strategies hold any weight without a proper foundation. Financial literacy is the operating system that runs this entire stealth wealth playbook. Understanding why compounding works, or the real difference between an asset and a liability, that is what turns these fragile rules into unshakable, lifelong habits that will protect you when markets drop or temptation strikes.
So, I leave you with this. Think back to that stoplight at the very beginning of our explainer, the luxury SUV and the dented Honda. The next time you feel the pull to spend money just to prove something to complete strangers, ask yourself this profound question. What are you actually buying? The appearance of wealth today or the reality of freedom tomorrow? Because the richest move you can possibly make is very often the one that nobody else can even see.